I want to talk about the people who use museums as a starting point. And that's sort of the starting point I felt with the Queens Museum, and say, where are we actually in the world? And this is, so in New York City, you could ask that question. In Queens, we're in what was called a majority-minority community. 90% of the people in Corona are Latino, about similar with the Asian population in Flushing. So I got to the museum. At the time I started, there was not a single person on the upstairs staff at the Queens Museum who spoke Spanish as their first language. This seemed absurd. That's the language that's spoken in the local community. On the other side of the park, Mandarin was spoken, and we didn't have Mandarin speakers on our staff or in our circle. So that was extremely important. Just from a communication point of view, what did it mean to have a staff that couldn't even literally communicate with the local community? So in AAMD, which is the Art Museum Directors Association, which you guys just came back from, which I used to be a member of, does anybody in this audience know, aside from ethnically specific museums in the United States, how many black museum directors are there in the country? Any guesses? Yes. 0 is the answer. And how many chief curators are there, aside from at ethnically specific museums in America, who are African American? No, 0 also. So I got into an argument. Somebody said, what about Franklin's sermons, right? It's like, well, yeah, Franklin's sermons is not the chief curator. Is that who you were just saying? Yeah. First of all, if you're having an argument about one person, it doesn't count, right? Second of all, he's not the chief curator of the museum. He's a department head. So he's maybe the senior African-American curator in America. That's not acceptable in a country that will be majority-minority within the foreseeable future. In New York City, depending on how you define Latino, we are 65% minority. The majority currently in New York City represents 35% of the city. That's not a majority. That's an old word. So we have to understand we're living in a multicultural society. So we were just at the Ford Foundation yesterday. We're launching a diversity initiative, which is actually going to measure, we know what the country's statistics are. Core museum visitors in America are 9% people of color, 91% white. That's, by the way, exactly the core, that's the staff breakdown. In museums in America, over 90% of the staff are white.